Right, hello everyone, back with me again, Andreas, on the second video about teaching methods. In the second video, I would like to explain to you about a teaching method called community language learning. What is it? What is a community language learning? What is a community? I mean, how is it related to learning? And especially how is it related to language learning in this case? Well, as you know, as I told you previously in the first video, is that this second method puts more humane value to the members or the learners of the English club that you are founding at the moment. So humans as individuals as well as a social being needs to be in a community. By being in a community, by being a community member, that will bring a sense of belonging, that will bring a sense of comfort, a sense of security that can be given or can be felt by the individuals. In this case, the students or the members are not seen as separate individuals that can be successful by being given any methods, but we need to address that there are difficulties that they may face during the learning. So this is very much a psychological thingy, but then later on after I will guide you through the explanation on the document by Dr. Diane Larsen-Freeman, and she will tell us how anxiety, how things that are not expected in learning may be reduced in a way that the students can feel more comfortable in learning, they can feel more accepted, they can feel more, you know, uh, happy in that sense. Okay, so I will share my screen about the documents that we are discussing at the moment. Community language learning. Community language learning. So, as I told you earlier, it deals with an individual as a person, as an individual, but also as a social being. Individual cannot exist by himself or herself, but he needs or she needs someone to to be together with, in doing things, especially in learning in this case. So first of all, students are whole persons. Tutors, me, you, everyone need to be seen as individual, as in a holistic viewpoint. Holistic means not only me as a lecturer, me as a father, me as a husband, or me as a son of my parents, but I need to be seen whole as a whole, that my role is not only an English learner. I'm not an English teacher only, but I also am an individual that has curiosity, but on the other hand, anxiety. I can feel happy, I can feel sad, I can understand things, but I also cannot understand some things that are beyond my expectation, for example, beyond my capacity in that sense. So in this case, in the community language learning, individuals or members are seen as the part of the community that they belong to. Secondly, people learn best when they feel secure. As I told you earlier, the feeling of security, the the feeling of being accepted, being addressed as a complete individual, not only an individual that needs to be given things. You need to learn this, you need to learn about simple present tense, simple past tense, present perfect, past perfect, future perfect tense, future perfect continuous tense, and so on and so forth. But it needs to be seen that an individual needs to digest things. They need process to to be where they are expected to be. So they need to be secure. They need to feel secure, and they need to feel comfortable in learning. So it emphasizes a lot on psychological things, right? The third point, the students should have the opportunity to generate the language they wish to learn. I repeat, they need to have the opportunity to generate or to produce language they wish to learn. So learning is not through the eyes of the teacher who sets the syllabus, curriculum, and the learning objectives, and so on. But this method focuses on the members, on the individuals who learn, to the learners. So this is the a basic understanding of community language learning, that they need to start themselves first, starting from their own. Yeah, starting from their own. So in teaching, the tutor needs to start with them, with the students. They need to address, they need to identify the difficulties in learning, the opportunities, the what is it, the competition that might happen, you know, and motivation, and so on and so forth. Okay, but basically, learning should be started from the learners, not the teachers. The fourth point, the teacher should understand what the students are feeling. So, I don't know, in this case, it's like the teachers are asked to be sensitive in the students' feeling. You cannot be a person who is, or a teacher who is so, um, who is so full of dictatorship, you know. You ask people to do this, and this, and you need to submit it at this time, at that time, and so on and so forth. You need to address that they also have feelings. They might find difficulties, and the difficulties need to be addressed by the tutor. So this is important, and because it will relate to the techniques, the teaching techniques that we will use later on. Instead of using PPP, for example, present, practice, and produce on the previous method, audiolingual method, this method emphasizes on a technique that starts from the individuals. What is it? What is the technique? Let's see the explanation below. So yeah, you will see the video on YouTube as well, Community Language Learning, or CLL, which is based upon the more general counseling learning approach. Counseling learning approach. So the approach that addresses counseling, that individual feeling needs to be addressed. Individual encounters need to be addressed and helped to be solved by the tutor in this case. CLL calls upon teachers to become skillful understanders. Teachers or tutors need to understand. You need to understand that your students are the same like you. You are all humans, and you need to see them as the whole persons, not only an individual who is learning English, not only an individual who learns mathematics, for example, but the students are individuals who are parts of a community or communities in this larger extent. Becoming a skillful understander means recognizing and accepting the struggles students face as they attempt to internalize another language. Yeah, I think that's quite clear. I think that explains itself. Now, on the video, whole person learning is put into practice in the video demonstration. Yeah, you can browse on YouTube, or but I'm going to give you the link to the video. But what can we learn from this method? You may have noticed that the teacher began the lesson by telling students that what they were going to be doing for the class. Teachers, tutors of the English Club of the business faculty we need to tell the students what they are going to learn, what they are learning basically. As I mentioned on the first video, for example, all right, listeners or viewers, you are going to see me explaining about teaching methods, about 6 teaching methods that are popular among the world of ELT, English language teaching, right? So you need to mention, why do we need to mention the materials or the topics? Here is why. The teacher does this recognizing that any new learning experience can be threatening. So if we imagine uh, the first time we learned English or we were exposed to a foreign language, for example, Japanese, watashi wa Andre desu, dozo yoroshiku hajimemashite, you know, for some people that sounds strange, that sounds threatening in that sense. For example, if I'm in a mall, in a public space, and there is someone next to me suddenly shouts in Madhuris, for example, and so on and so on, and it will kind of challenge my stability, challenge my my tranquility, my state of equilibrium, my that sense of 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 something strange. When you are encountering something that you don't know, that you don't understand, that will threaten you. For example, if you see a big lizard, you know, like Komodo dragon or uh, iguana, for example, next to you, you will feel kind of threatened. You will feel at least challenged in that sense because I don't quite understand this animal, and this animal is approaching me and it's now getting closer to me, and now I'm kind of afraid. And that is the metaphor of learning English for some people, and perhaps for most of our English as a foreign language students in this case. Right, so you need to mention what they are going to learn. And then when the students have an idea of what will happen in class, they often feel more secure. So, for example, if I don't tell you what you will watch on my YouTube videos like this, you will wonder, will Pak Andreas say something bad about me? Will he talk too much? Will he talk too long? That will take an hour, 2 hours, 15 minutes of my time, 30 minutes of my time. It needs to be addressed so that uh, the learners or the viewers are ready. They need to prepare themselves for the process. Yeah, in the community, as a community, if you want an individual to be part of the community, they need to be addressed. They need to be they need to be told and understand. They need to understand that what is the community, what the community is for, what activities the community are doing, the community is doing, and so on and so forth. General identification of the thing is essential in this class, in this in this case. So people learn best when they feel secure. Yeah, it's a repetition of the previous statements. So what came next in the lesson was the teachers inviting the students to first visualize and then to describe their homes. So I want to emphasize 2 things here. First off is the attempt to visualize, and second one is the topic chosen, which is home. Okay, the students' homes. Rather than talking about, for example, a country in Europe, say Greece, for example, I think most people will be convenient to talk about their homes. About Indonesians will be happy to tell a lot about Indonesia. Greek people will be happy to talk about Greece because that's the the place or the community where he or she belongs to. And in this case, the topic is very smartly selected. In this case, not only the, uh, the technique, but also the topic selected by these teacher trainers. So each student was given a time limit, and towards the end of the activity was reminded that they had only 1 minute left. Setting and enforcing time limits also enhances student security. This is, I don't know, I mean, I learned this throughout my process of learning, that um, I learned a lot that during tests, it will be much better if the test takers be given time limits. All right, test takers, you still have 6 minutes remaining. You have 45, you have 30 minutes remaining, you have 15 minutes remaining, and you have 10 minutes, 5, 3 minutes, and 1 minute remaining for you to complete the task. The test takers will organize, will arrange the efforts that they give to the task, and they will perform better because they know that they are encouraged to finish it in a certain amount of time, right? So time limits is important. So in this case, in your teaching technique, you need to tell your students or your members of your English club, all right, friends, all right, guys, we need 5 minutes to create this role play, and we have 5 minutes to perform it in front of the class, and we have another 5 minutes to for the feedback provision, for example. So time limits. Apart from that, it will help you manage the class. Basically, it's a time management technique we are learning here as well. Afterwards, they listed the words they needed for the descriptions. Yeah, the activity that is described from the video. Curran, the expert or the founder of this method, believed that students should be given an opportunity to assert themselves. They need to start speaking themselves, you know, to be actively involved and to invest themselves in the learning experience. How do you involve someone in learning? Yeah, they need to do the learning. How do you want to teach speaking? Ask the teachers to the students to speak. Yeah, they need to experience. Like experiential learning is also learned here, learned through experiences. One of the ways of allowing for this is for the students to have the responsibility for generating the language they wish to learn or to work on. So here is an important point to underline. The language they wish to learn or to work on, not the language that the teacher said, okay? So the goals of learning are set by the students in this case. The students are given privilege to acknowledge themselves. They are given the privilege to improve and to determine what the goals are that can be realistic to achieve for each student in this case. In part of a community has different social beings, and the teacher, as part of the community, cannot uh, interfere the learning because the language the students wish to learn and to work on, not the uh, English or language that is set or determined by a certain standard from the teacher, of course. The students next inquired about the meaning and practiced the pronunciation of the words they had listed. You may recall that the teacher stood behind the student as she read the words after them. So you know what, the presence of teacher is or tutor is somehow intimidating. So can you imagine when you're having classes in your classroom, for example, if your lecturer standing in front of you, and when the lecturer is out of the room or he or she is behind your back, like far from you, you will feel intimidated. You will feel sort of unsupervised. You're given a certain freedom in that case, So as a tutor, I will encourage you not to be the center of attention or the center of the in front of the classroom, but you go around, and then when they perform, do not stand next to them or close to them in front of the class, but you need to be in the students or in the students side, so you are as the spectator as well. You're one of the spectators of the performance. So when you conduct role play, when you ask the students to come forward, try not to be close to them. You just walk a few feet back, closer to the students, to the class, not to the person or the performers in this case. Yeah. Next, this is done in the belief that the superior knowledge and power of the teacher can be threatening. Told you, if the teacher does not remain in the front of the classroom, the threat is reduced and the students can focus their full attention on the words in front of them. So this is interesting in a sense that it's very much different with the one that we learned about audiolingual method, where the teacher is the center of attention, the one who determines all. But for this community language learning, the psychological sense is added and the teacher role is somehow decreased and lessened. When the students practice the words individually, they chose which words they wish to have the teacher repeat. And an exercise termed the human computer. So basically, the teacher does not ask the students to repeat over and over like the audiolingual method, but it's the other way around. The students ask the teacher to repeat parts that they don't understand. For example, excuse me, sir, can you please repeat this word? Okay, it's veline, veline, not velin, veline. But the one who says the word is the tutor or the teacher, yeah? It's very much the opposite of the audiolingual method, very much, but not really contrary, because the role of teacher is still very much needed. We will learn that the role of teacher later on in other methods is going to be decreased over time, right? So the human computer here is the teacher, is the tutor, because the user or the user of the computer is the students, and the tutor or the teacher is the computer that is asked to repeat things that they don't understand. The students control the computer. They can turn the computer off anytime. That's quite harsh, to be honest. You can be turned off by your students. Well, that's scary to some extent. The students learn to discriminate, to listen carefully to see if what they're saying matches what the teacher is saying. So not the teacher who defines, no, you're wrong, no, yes, you're right, but the students themselves need to realize it themselves. It requires more efforts from the students in this sense. The students were next asked to use the new words to make their own sentences. Yeah, okay. Use the new words that they learn to make new sentences, so they apply what they learn. As the teacher repeated each student's sentence, she corrected it. Never overtly, never openly. You do not use corrective feedback in this community language learning, because as a community you learn together, and you do not say someone is wrong in a community, because community is based upon togetherness. A community is built upon mutual understanding. So you don't say A is wrong, B is right. You don't do that openly, not overtly, but rather by repeating the sentence correctly in a non-threatening manner. So when a student makes a sentence, for example, yesterday I saw a brown cat which scratched my arms 2 days since. Oh, There's something wrong there. I'll repeat it once more. Yesterday, I saw a brown cat which scratched my arms 2 days since. The word since should be changed into ago, of course. But then you do not say that the student is wrong, but you repeat the sentence in a correct, with the correct sentence. Yeah. Instead of saying since, you need to change it into ago. Yesterday, I saw a brown cat which scratched my arms 2 days ago. All right. You know, the last part of the lesson was developed to a feedback session in which the students reflected on what they had experienced and felt during the lesson. So the part of reflection is very much important. I even wrote a journal article about reflection. Reflection is a contemplation. It's a way, it's a means to reflect, to contemplate, to see how you perform, how you progress along the way. Yeah. So they do the reflection and the teacher listened and showed each student she understood what each one was feeling. So feeling, so important here. So very sensitive part in this method. In this way, students have an opportunity to feel accepted as whole persons, to learn about their own learning, in addition to learning about the language. So not only focusing on learning the language, but also the difficulties, the emotional feeling behind the learning needs to be addressed by the teacher. The teacher is used as a human computer, and the students begin to learn by themselves, achieving things that they set themselves, not the teacher. Although the teacher can still guide what they learn, what the students need to learn. Right, ladies and gentlemen, uh, in an English club, it is not easy to ask people around and do things because sometimes they're your friends. But to have a good English club, you need to have objectives, and the objectives need to be set by the head of the English club, the coordinator. And then the objectives need to be conveyed, need to be delivered to the members, and the objectives need to be uh, evaluated whether each objective is achieved through certain attempts of each meeting, you know. So that's why we need a good preparation on everything, especially on teaching and learning. All right, that's the second video about community language learning. We still have 4 more videos about 4 other teaching methods in the series, and this is based on the Diane Larsen-Freeman book, Teaching Methods, about teaching methods, especially teaching English. So I'm Andreas, I'm out, and I'll see you again in the next video, right? Thank you so much.